She's live there now. Just letting you know. Does it work? Come in. I need to click that. There we go. Oh, perfect.
All right,
Thank you very much.
I'm going home.
Okay.
Door locked.
You back or front?
No, front.
Okay. Hey, Brad, how you doing, buddy? Brad, remember we had the little piece of wood and we did the set of three, I think,
Okay,
bake apples? That's Brad.
Oh. Don't forget the other guy now, his name's Eric.
Hey?
You were calling by his post name, and he says, I'm Mr. something, you know that?
Oh, that was his name, yeah.
His name was Eric, yeah. He said, I won't remember that next week, but I was watching at the same time.
Oh, and that was his, yeah, because it was Funny Tag or something, like
Yeah.
his screen name. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
And I was home watching at the same time, live,
Oh, okay.
yeah. Anyway,
Very good.
good night.
Good night.
Talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, okay. Can you hear me there, guys? Just give me a sound report, a video report. Let's take up the old Yamaha. I've been trying to pick up the guitar every chance I can get this week, which is not super often, but it's been one of those weeks where she's calling out to me. And not this one. This one hasn't been touched in a couple of weeks, I don't think. Gets pretty dirty here in the shop environment. I just wipe the dust out or give that beautiful Moranti some attention. These little guitars aren't much. They don't cost much, but there's not much maintenance needed either. And with a little bit of setup, they sound just fine. No big deal at all. How are things in Newfoundland? Things in Newfoundland are great. Very, very busy here at the shop. It's been a busy week. Lots going on. How's things where you are, Brad? How's the family? Hey, strapped and dangerous. What is it? What is it we determined last week? Mr. Dangerous or strapped? Hello, Kathleen. How are you doing? Just said I feel like picking up the guitar tonight. I just love playing the guitar. When I started playing music, I was actually, although I come from a somewhat musical family, fairly musical family, I was probably, I think, around 10 or 12 years old before I started playing anything. And there was a guitar always sitting there in the corner, always leaning in the corner that Dad would do some playing and singing. And I would pick it up occasionally and just pluck on the strings and just strum. But I would say I was 10 plus years old when I was intentional and asked Dad to teach me some guitar. And we got the little guitar set up and a little amp. It was a little electric guitar because they're so soft on the fingers. And we set up in the family room, and he taught me the first few chords. And from that, it was a long time where I wasn't intentional about it. And what he taught me, I would kind of practice. And then my buddy would show me a couple chords here and there, and I would practice those and just grew a little bit. But guitar was always just kind of something I did a little bit here and there. Never real intentional about it. But then I fell in love with the drums, and that I immediately became obsessed with. And I drummed all through high school, and eventually I picked up the bass as well, and picked up a little piano. But in the recent years, although I played drums pretty well every Sunday at church, in the last year, 18 months, the guitar. Oh, I've fallen so much in love with the acoustic guitar. I found a couple guys online that I really love. Trey Hensley. I got big into Doyle Dykes, Tony Rice, and a lot of different flat pickers and finger pickers, and just ate it up and listened a lot. And that's, when you listen to things like that, that kind of inspire you and that you're interested in. Oh, Billy Strings. I really like Billy Strings. So many great pickers out there. I've been listening to a little bit of Marcus King. I think he's just phenomenal. I don't listen to a ton of secular music, but some of those guys like Marcus King, just not many like him in that era. Such a classic and rich sound. Phenomenal guitar player, really unique voice. He's just fun to listen to. But Trey Hensley might be my favorite right now. Phenomenal player and excellent vocalist as well. I just love his vocals. Does such a good job. We got a few people here tonight. Hey, Michael is in. Lee, thanks so much about the boat build, buddy. I have a couple videos teed up, ready to go. Actually, I'm planning on, I just might release one later tonight. I planned to release it earlier, but I was so busy in the shop here. But it is the final part of that 2-knife build. I wanted to get that out so I could get the 3 in a row before I went back to the boat build. But I got a couple different videos. And yeah, some really cool updates on that project. Really cool updates. Billy and Terry. Oh, Chad's here. Thanks, Chad, buddy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Yeah, if you could go ahead and hit the like button, that would be awesome. Oh, yeah, I can see him coming in there. Just click that like button, click that like button. I've got high hopes this week because last week was a fantastic live stream. Woo, she worked. Those big changing temperature and humidity. These feel so different. I've had mediums on my home acoustic for a while, and they're really stiff, and you really got to be intentional about playing them. And this feels, my fingers are not feeling them the same. Not to mention I've spent all evening grinding, so a little not quite as sensitive as I could be. How's everyone doing? That's what I'd like to know. Go ahead and let me know what's the biggest thing happened in your week. I'd love to hear it. I had a really cool thing over the past, well, since our last live stream. If you guys remember, some of you will remember, some of you are new here probably. I built that big kitchen knife set. I don't know if it was a Newfoundland Hobbyist episode. Maybe it was. But it was definitely on my YouTube channel where we had natural curly maple and then a blue curly maple inlay with black spacers and liners, polished blades on all of them. And it was a full set. So it was a full-size chef's knife, maybe like a nakiri. There was a bread and brisket knife, a long serrated edge knife, couple paring knives, and then the big custom block. I don't know how many of you guys remember that, but the same people who ordered, the same guy who ordered that block from me, as I had a couple other knives from me as well, custom builds and stuff off the site. The same guy who ordered that block is the same guy who ordered the set, the two-piece set that you just saw, or that you're seeing me build right now on the YouTube channel. So you're going to see the third and final part probably later tonight. If not, it'll be first thing tomorrow morning. I might do like a Saturday morning release, probably do a little better for views. But the same guy that had this set built now and had these sets built is actually from Ontario, and they just made a trip down, him and his wife, made a trip down and spent a little bit of time touring the island and spent a couple days actually here, spent a couple days here in my little town. And they toured the shop and they got the pickup. He got to pick up his 2-knife set. That was all done. And, he contacted me and said, would it be possible to have this done for when they come in? And sure enough, had them all done sitting. So we got to pick them up in person, spent a couple days here in town and kind of looking at the sights here, because this is a phenomenal town that I live in. It's just hard to beat aesthetically. But something even cooler, I don't even know if I can tell you guys this. Let me see. Let me see if I can grab something here for you real quick. Ariel, should I show him one of the pictures that I showed you? Do you think I should, or do you think it'll be a spoiler? Okay, here we go. Here we go. Here we go. That's as much as I can show. If the stream glitched then and you didn't get it, perfect, even better. Because I'm a bit conflicted on if we wanted to reveal that. I put the boat in the water in its rawest, barely functional form for those guys, mostly for those guys to get out on the water. Because when we talked about, they've been talking about for a couple years, ever since that build, I think the big kitchen knife set build, ever since that build, they've been talking about how they'd love to, or talking to me about how they'd love to come to Newfoundland and tour the island. Michael. And tour the island and come here and tour the shop and hang out. And I was saying, oh, that'd be great. And I'd love to get you on the ocean. I'd love to get you out on the water and show you what the water is like here. And just mention it off and on for the last year or two. They plan to come to the island. Oh, we're going to get you on the boat. We're going to get you on the boat. Well, this winter, of course, I started a huge construction project on the boat. And we got up to the point here. Oh, Chad, good call. Got up to a point where I said, oh my, the boat is not going to be ready. What am I going to do? And so what I did is I sort of forced it, little on the weekends, a little late in the night, that type of thing, and was able to get the boat functional. So it's raw, no finish work, no electrical, no windows, no nothing. It's aluminum console with wheel and controls. That's it. But I have had it in the water, and I know you guys aren't this far along, but you're going to see probably this coming week, this new week now, we'll try to catch you up and get you up to speed. But guys, it looks so good, and it felt so good and ran so good. You don't notice the extra weight in the boat. The only time you notice the extra weight is me running the tiller with that big of an engine on the back. If no one else was in the boat with me, it would really want to ride, especially when you were starting off. I mean, that engine can just pick the whole boat right up out of the water pretty well. Having my weight now up in the middle of the boat and the console's weight up in the middle of the boat, you don't have that huge peak like when you're starting. It just kind of rises as it should and sits, just planes up really quick, whoop, right up on the water. And then, but obviously that was very exciting. And I've got a bunch of footage of that launch, the first launch, and I'm ready to put it out. I've already been editing it, putting it together, but it was a blast. And like we had hoped, I got to get them on the water. We went out early morning, roughly 6 a.m. The water here was pretty oily, calm when we left. Spent quite a while out going around, and I showed him some of the sites. I brought him to Yellow Fox Cove, from where the name Yellow Fox comes from. And we talked about, they were pointing out that the trees are so small. The trees around the waterfront are so small. And I was explaining these are actually big compared to when you go down up to the Northern Peninsula, and the harsh environment gives you like Tuckamore forest, which the trees are really small and gnarly because of the weather, the harsh winds and temperature, and they're depleted of nutrients. And so the trees only grow a few feet tall. They're really ugly little spruce, but you have Tuckamore. And then while he was here, they were in a store and they saw baked apple jam, and it clicks. That's where the name Bake Apple comes from, right? So it was cool. They're thinkers, obviously, and they know the K and Knives products, and they know the models. And so it was interesting for them to be able to see those things and see kind of the Newfoundland culture that's built into these knives. And I was proud of that too. I was proud that they picked up on those things and got to experience that as well. Oh, it's probably a song already, buddy. I don't know that for sure, but it might be. Now I'm at a crossroads with the project. If you guys could give me some advice, I was planning on right now having the console done for this season. So my plan was to put it together, put it in the water, get this couple for a ride on the water, which would have been great. And then it was, and I know then at that point how operational the console is. Is it quite stable enough? Is the boat balanced with it in? Do the controls and steering and everything work okay? I was going to verify that, and I'd take it out of the boat and do all the finish work. That is all the flat wheeling and sanding and priming and a finish paint and all my lights and everything. Just perfect finished product, new boat, done for the season. I think if that's my goal right now at this point, 20th of June, I think I may not have my boat for the season, because I don't want to rush that finish work. I have to pull it back out of the boat right now anyways, because it's not like a permanent install. So I've got to put it out and properly mount the base plate and everything and seal everything. What do you guys think? My thoughts are now is to take it back out of the boat and seal the base plate and everything, and then put it back in and even put in the electrical and my lights and stuff, but use it in raw aluminum for the year. I'll flat wheel a little bit so there's no hard edges or things like that. Run it for the summer, and then when it's out of the water for the winter, we'll pull it back inside and I'll fully disassemble it. And that's when I'll have the chance to make any changes after a summer on the water. Whether there's, I want a bracket here or a handle here, or, I'll get to see what changes I need to make. And I've got all the winter long to do all my sanding and flat wheeling and priming and painting and get my hull polished up. And what do you got? Well, that's the point to consider, Mr. Dangerous there. That's the point to consider. I would like Chad's input on that and Michael's input on that. What do you think of me running it like that? And what I'm thinking is, you guys can speak to it, but if I could wait, if I had that kind of time, I have a trip into St. John's later this summer. I'm thinking about picking up like a pressure pot sandblaster. And when it comes back out of the boat, I'll be all set up and prepared with all my abrasive and everything. And I would sandblast the works, flat wheel it real nice, sandblast the works, do an acid etch primer, a proper paint job, like really take my time, take the winter and have it. That's kind of where I'm thinking there, Clinton. If I use it for the summer, I'd have an idea. If I go through the work right now of finish work, prime, paint, and everything, and then I decide I need 2 extra supports in the ceiling, or I want a couple more handles welded on here. What do I do at that point? Chad, what do you think in terms of corrosion, in terms of letting the aluminum spend the summer out on the water, running it for the season? Because I can see even running it just this past weekend. Yeah, it would have been this past weekend. Just run it there. I can see the little salt spatter. No oxidation really happening, of course, but you know how salt water is. When you come back and park the boat, you leave it for a few minutes and you can see all the droplets of water turn to dried salt on the engine. What do you mean, Chad? You want as little profile as possible. What do you mean by that? Do you guys think that I'm safe to run it? Okay, so we're already past that, because a lot of my corners I've already flat wheeled that they were a little bit rough. Hey, Chris made it for a live stream. Welcome. Right. Okay. All of my dash you'll see in the video. I Scotch brighted the whole dash, because where I was welding up above, I had all this weld spatter, pecks all over it. So it would cost me a few $100 just to do that. It would be a lot of work to remove if I wasn't sandblasting. Now, it's not a big deal if I was. I couldn't be sure what grade of aluminum that is. Oh, so what's the problem? Oh, thanks, Chris, buddy. I am really, really excited about how my welding skills have come up. What is the problem with running it like it is for the 3 or 4 months of the summer? Why do you think I should throw a bit of a couple cans of rattle paint over it or something like that? What am I looking at? If I'm taking it out of the water in October anyways and getting on it with the sandblaster and completely stripping it, and then using acid etch primer, what is the problem? Do you think that I can see any real corrosion in that length of time? Like, what do you expect there? I wouldn't imagine it could be that quick, but likely nothing, but the salt pits raw aluminum pretty quickly. Like, okay. And it would just be just spatter, right? Just spit from coming up, because other than that, it's just rainwater. So it's just if you have a little bit of flicking up from the sides, the wind comes a little way, it spats in over. Now I'm conflicted, because I don't I don't know if I want, I don't want a cobbled, like you mentioned there, Chad, a cobbled rattle can finish. Mr. Wingfield is here. Well, sir. My beautiful family is beautiful as ever. They are happy and wonderful and healthy and challenging. 4 little ladies can be challenging. Now, clear enamel, that's something that I would consider. Probably cost me a couple $100 worth of enamel to do it, but I can see, that the longliners here and stuff, we have lots of fishing boats around the water that have all kinds of aluminum gear on them, aluminum little jib cranes and things like that. And I don't really see, unless it's real old gear, you can see that it's pretty corroded, but all aluminum railing and these types of things all looks pretty good. But we do not have chickens at this point. They're gone. They have passed on to a better life. Let me show you guys. I think we're far enough into the stream to show a couple pieces of steel. We could take a break if you like from the boat content. I see some people are drifting out of here. That's probably why, as we're talking boats on what they expect to be a knife channel. I've got 3 beautiful Tuckamores here. I showed this material for the first time on last week's live stream, I think. But I've got it on Tuckamore now to see what it looks like. And I love this material. Dad and I both love it. It's like a wine red, polishes to that incredible glassy finish. Look at the grind on that Tuckamore. Isn't that lovely? We've got polished tangs on there. Really sharp. This will go on the site at some point, unless you purchase from me before it goes up there. Gerald is here. It will, Gerald, at some point. Although I showed some yellow foxes in last week's live stream for a few minutes, and I said those are going up now on the website, and they're still not on the website, and a week has passed. Man, the weeks just go by so fast. But those, I think actually maybe one of those yellow foxes sold and gone out just from someone seeing it in the live stream. But this Tuckamore is available, and I am loving it. The finish and the color. Tuckamore is such a great pattern. Just a great pattern. And by the way, thank you all for your Father's Day shopping. Lots of movement this month on the website, and a lot of you got to take advantage of that 10% discount that was on. Really, really nice. I appreciate that. Mr. Strapped, we certainly can do one of those for you in Scandi Grind. Do you prefer the Scandi Grind from the Sabre? But Gerald, it will go on the website eventually. If you want to shoot me an email to inquire about it, you certainly can. The Tuckamore is not my Puko design. The Tuckamore is a totally different pattern. The Puko has more of the traditional Puko lines with a lean up run, a longer straight edge, that type of thing. But I am doing a group Puko build where we're all having input. That's being talked about now, although I've got to dive back into it and get it on the move. It's been paused for a little bit. That's gonna be fun. Herbert, says or asks, my laser etcher, check the safety data to see if you should have laser glasses on in case of reflection. It comes with safety glasses, which I have there, and I put them on if I'm working on any type of finish that's questionable. Although if I'm working with like a dull finish wood or a leather or something like that, I don't usually put them on just because it's a total matte finish and the light just disappears into the surface. Now, I do kind of keep my distance. I do kind of stand back when it's running and I kind of keep away from it. And I do not let the girls around it at all because they're so close to eye level. But if it's something like a total matte finish like leather, don't usually put on my glasses. But that is, if I was to try to engrave brass or glass or steel or something like that, my laser is not powerful enough to do that. But if I were to try to work on something like that with any type of reflective finish, I would have the glasses on. Yeah, no silly chances here. No silly chances. If the grinder is running, the dust extractor is on, respirator is on almost all times, safety glasses are on. And Herbert, I've got you partly to thank for that. Herbert Wingfield, if you guys see his name there in the comments, he's been around the channel for years. And he used to give me a hard time back in the early days because if I was running a machine and not wearing proper PPE, he'd be sure to be on me in the comments section. And I see he, on the last video where I did the laser engraving, I saw your comment there, Herbert. And I also saw some guy comment beneath your comment saying nobody cares or something a little bit nasty like that. But I care. I appreciate you. I appreciate those reminders. But you have certainly pushed me in that way over time and helped me be, a little bit more mindful of the dust in the air and the glasses for my eyes. And I do not. Dad said, I think it was just yesterday. He said, I think you must sleep in bed at night with those earmuffs on. Those my big black 3M earmuffs. And it's gotten to the point where I'm so comfortable and used to them that I hate running anything here in the shop without ear protection because my ears have become so accustomed to the quietness in the muffs, how controlled and quiet it is, that now even the drill presses, I just don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear the wah of the drill press, so I put them on. I put them on all the time. Safety glasses. Ever since I've started, let this be a little, what word I want to say? Let it be a little telltale or a little lesson for you guys. I grind a lot more than the average bear. I'm around dust and particles and shavings all the time. But in my short few years at this, I've been to the Emerge department, I think 3 times for my eyes. And I have had and there probably could have been more times than that. And that's with glasses on. And still, occasionally something gets in around. I've tried goggles. I cannot keep steam out of goggles. The only thing I've found that's manageable on the regular is a good quality safety glass. I wear good fitting 3M ones that really come around and have good side protection. But I've still been to the Emerge 3 times and diagnosed for scratched lens and given medicated drops and that type of thing to make sure things heal up well and there's no infection. And it is not fun having a scratched eye like that. It kind of feels like having welder's flash, which I've had 1 time. And an actual scratch lens is kind of the same thing. It hurts to close your eyes at night. It hurts to sleep. Your eyes feel gritty and sandy. It's just, it's not fun. So wear the gear. Wear the gear. I think the best option out there now, and one day I'm going to invest in it, I think so, is the PAPR systems, the powered air purifying respirators. Like Alex Steele wears with, it's like a whole hood with a power pack and ventilation. That would make sense for me because I could go in and spend 3 or 4 hours standing at the grinder. and the dust extraction is on, but that's not 100% effective. There's still some residual dust in the air. And so I have to wear a respirator, but those would stop, of course, anything from coming at your eyes. You have a full sealed hood, and it's powered, filtered, fresh air blowing down unidirectional past your face. So it's almost like a pressurized, like a protected environment. They're cool. I think I will invest one of those eventually, but they're a few $1,000s. Unless you go with like a Temu version, which I don't really want to trust my lungs to. I use all 3M gear here. And that would get rid of the additional problem of any stubble. Wearing a respirator, you have that barrier slightly broken. Technically, theoretically, you have the slight barrier break because of the stubble. I don't wear a big beard, but a little bit of stubble doesn't keep a perfect seal. But in terms of the heavy particle that I'm dealing with, it should still be quite a good seal. But again, long story short, Herbert, I appreciate you nagging on me for my safety gear. I really appreciate that. Mr. Dangerous, I understand why you like Scandi for that reason. Clinton, the shipping issues under control? Yes, they are. Actually, Canada Post has been fantastic still. Just last night, they put out a notice. So they're working with So they're on the verge of strike, but this time they do not want to strike. And what's happening is as I understand it, they're working with two unions. There's a union of rural workers and a union of urban workers, I guess, as I understand it. The group of rural workers is a much smaller union, but they reached a deal or settlement with them as of yesterday. And everybody's happy. Sounds like a good deal. Sounds like both sides are happy, and they're locking in this deal for a lengthy term. So now it's just the other union group they're trying to settle with. So I'm hoping that the fact that this one has settled will make it so that the other party drives ahead and settles things too. Because like right now, Amazon is cut off for us out here. Amazon will not ship with Canada Post to our area because there's a chance at any time they could strike. And that's really, really difficult for us out here. We really rely on places like Amazon. For my business, I rely hugely on a place like Amazon. Chad Morgan. Now that I like. That is something I can do. And I've even got one of those brand new here, right there. I'm looking at it. Brand new Princess Auto pump sprayer. And Chad says he just texted an old timer. That's where you want to go for information like that. He says, run the boat. If you think she's getting sprayed with salt water, use a pump sprayer or fresh water when you tie her up. So just give her a little rinse. No problem. I can do that. And that will help just keep everything clean so I don't have a bunch of work. Although I do plan to, you guys can let me know what you think of this. This is another thing to comment on. I do plan to use some body fill in the console. In the places where there are a couple little pits from welding, a little undercut, that type of thing, I plan to use a little bit of body filler, automotive body filler. What do you think about that? I don't see any problem or any reason why it wouldn't be. Out in the middle of panels where there's any flex, I could see no good to use that. But for pinholes, I don't think I'd have a problem. Herbert, yeah, a little more professional than back in the shed days. I try to run a little tighter ship these days. Dust extraction on the sander over here. HEPA grade dust extraction on the bandsaw that cuts handle materials. Dust extraction on the grinding machines. There's glasses and muffs and respirators all over the shop. We keep a cleaner shop now. I vacuum the floor so you don't have a haze of across the floor all the time. It's regularly swept. surfaces. Every so often, I'll put on the respirator, blow off all the benches, all the shelves with the dust collection on. Try to keep the room clean here so there's just not residual dust here. And when the sun is beaming across in here, you don't see an air filled with, like, you know, how you've seen it. I was in a welding shop recently. It was a welding and fab shop in Grand Falls, I believe. And I walked in, there was just a little sun coming in across the air, and you could see the air was just like someone had thrown a handful of glitter, just particles, and everyone's just going about their business with no gear on. I guess if they were to really dig into a project, you know, flat wheel, and they would put on a respirator, which is fine and it's good. But I'm looking around this shop and thinking, they're standing in this room all day long, probably 5 days a week, and the air is just as gritty. You feel like you could scrape it off your tongue. I don't want that. That's not how it is here. The air is quite clean. Although if I could make a next step would be to get a few of those box air cleaners, you know, and hang a couple from the ceiling, one right outside the grinding room door. So anything that's kind of drifting out of the door gets picked up by that. One over by the bandsaw just to pick up residual. They've gone up in price a lot, but I think I might grab a couple anyways. Nurk Dewitsky, are any of your crafts part of y'all's homeschool curriculum? Not really at this point. That is the plan. And one of the beautiful things we regularly consider for homeschooling is that, you know, schools only have so much resources. And here in our small rural area, you know, you're sort of the last one to get funded. And because you have a small population, it makes total sense. They can't put in an auto body shop class here in a school with 90 or 100 kids, K through 12. Just can't, you can't throw away resources like that. But with a shop like this, we can get to the point where we can apply for programming and we can use credits and do a year of machining work or a year of welding. I wonder if we could get some type of credit system where we could have those hours account towards an apprenticeship or account in some way towards going away, you know. But that's like maybe I'm considering getting my oldest daughter. She has an interest in photography and she likes some technology. And I'm thinking, why not spend a bunch of time with her and teach her how to run the camera and teach her to take pictures and video clips, and then start teaching her some of the editing software. And editing software for photos is very fun, would be fun for a kid to learn. And I'm thinking about pushing that in the new school year, making it kind of, that could be your art course for the year, where she learns the camera, learns the software, and it would be a lot of value. And she could grow into those kind of roles for my business, and it would just be really valuable. There's so many lines of work, from photography to graphic design and things that could help her in life. And so, yeah, they're not quite old enough to be here at the shop working into the crafts work yet, but that is definitely in the plans. And my oldest will probably soon start getting into a little bit like probably some woodwork. You know, I'm thinking about picking up a scroll saw or something. That was the saw that I started with. They're very safe, very controlled. You're working on a little table. They cut so slow. I spent a lot of time in Pop's garage with little small bits of spruce or pine wood cutting on the scroll saw. You know, it's just a great way to get your wits about you at tools. There were a couple times when I got little nicks on my fingers, but it's at such a small and controlled rate that I learned, geez, this is something to be concerned about, but I didn't have to lose half a finger in the process to learn that lesson. It's very, very gracious. A lot of mercy there. Chad, you do the Scott Air helmet, did you say? Is that what you're saying there? Gerald, very selfish reason. I do worry. I don't know if it's a thing, you know, if you have your eye, the lens of your eye, scratched like that, a legitimate scratch 10 times in your life, in your working life, does that mean, or does it make it more likely to have vision problems later in life? Do you have a partially degenerated lens, or does your eye fully repair and heal after something like that? I wonder about that. But I do try very hard to. Oh, Herbert, you're gone out of here. Thanks for stopping in, buddy. Got it, Chad. Do you think would you prime and then body fill pinholes, or would you go direct to metal? And Chad, I believe that was, I won't say the name of the shop. I won't say the name of the shop. It might have been Exploit. It may not have been, but I I said, man, I would not want to work here. I would not want to work here. I think it would too, Gerald. I think it would be rewarding for them. I think it would be meaningful to us. As time goes on, we expect the business here, although the business is me and my dad right now. And so it's already, of course, a family business, but I expect my family to be more and more involved as the girls grow older. You know, if we get to the point where I have a regularly open retail shop, even for the summer months, that would be awesome for some young little ladies that are polite and courteous and happy and well spoken. What a great opportunity for some summer work. Or, you know, there's so many lines of work here in the shop that they could be involved with and give them a sense of purpose and a bit of a job. I think it's great. So that's in the plans going forward. A piece of wire stuck in his eye that didn't heal completely. That's unfortunate. Yeah. For me, yeah, the most thing that produces anything here are little shards of metal from the grinding belts. And also, what's just as guilty is those ceramic belts, the way they work is there are large particles of grit on the belts. And picture it like this. And they're designed so that when you put pressure as you're grinding, those ceramic nubs or cutting heads on the belt, they don't necessarily, they start to wear a little dull, but they fracture. And when they fracture, the edge you're left with is just as sharp or sharper than the new belt. And it lets you run the same ceramic belt for a long time because they're almost self-sharpening for a certain length of time until the grit is basically worn away. So they're very beautiful and high-performing. But when you start running those belts, when they're really fresh, they sort of cast off a lot of those edges, a lot of fractures, and those little pieces get on your clothes and that type of thing. And a lot of times I'll get snucked in the face with them, right? Snuck. And they sting a little bit when those little bits of when they land just right, a little piece of ceramic. And those are real rough. I think one or two times I've had them kind of just end up inside my glasses somehow. I guess they deflect somehow and have ended up in my eye. Face shield I've ran. It does not work well. I've got them here. I've got multiple. And it's not practical for back and forth to the grinder all the time. Yeah, I've got them here. I've tried it all. Mr. Dangerous, I've got a shop apron and I wear it almost all the time lately. I guess I haven't produced a lot of content lately for you guys to see, but really love the shop apron. And it's almost floor length. It's right down maybe 6 inches up my shin. and it works great. Keeps a lot of dirt and dust off my clothing. I'm glad, Chad, that you have something there. Michael, you got a good shield? I've got a nice 3M shield. I've got a 3M full face rig with the two filters. I've tried a lot of different stuff, but the way the shop runs here, it's just certain gear is not practical. And even like a powered air product would be for when I'm doing like a handle grind. It's not something that I could wear all the time because I'm into the grinder and out to the leather working bench and into the grinder and out and running a couple stitches. And I have to run in and finish that edge on it and come back out to the bench. And it's just like this all day long. And so a lot of things aren't practical. Glasses, they just slide up on my forehead here, and I run in and I pull them down. Let's search up the Uvex Bionic. Oh, that's nice. Yeah, that really comes back far on the head, it looks like. That's pretty cool. But can you wear a respirator in that thing? I'm thinking not. Doesn't look like it to me. So, no, there's no way a respirator fits inside that thing. And how do you keep it from steaming up? Because that's been a huge problem for me is steam. Because I'm not outside, it's not drafty here. It's a drywalled, insulated, still place. And so your respirator's casting out air and everything is just steam. Oh, whatever. They don't steam up. I don't believe it. All of this anti-fog stuff. I've seen so many new anti-fog coating. I've tried bunches of it and none of it works. I don't know what they're putting on there. Chad, what is this? Is this a legitimate product or are you actually digging through your litter box at home? Because I've never heard of this. What? He says, yes, sir. Which one of those is it? Because I've never, if it's a product, I've never heard of it, but might be something to try. It's real. I will search it up. Oh, it is a legitimate product. Oh, a lot of light there. And a couple of you guys are saying it works, it's real, and it works well. Maybe I'll give it a try. I don't have any problems. A lot of jokers in here, a lot of jokers. Let me show you a couple more knives before we end off here. And there's a few beautiful ones. Have a look at this Tuckamore. And if you can't tell, this is a black G10. And these have no edges, no cleanup, no nothing. They just came right off the grinder 15 minutes before I ended the stream. But this is a Kieranite, a black pearl Kieranite inlay, thick white liner, black G10 nickel hardware, forge finish. Isn't that beautiful? That Kieranite really is beautiful stuff. And I just like that. The last Tuckamore of the night, and I know some of you are going to like this. This is the first of its kind. An angled inlay. This is a Tuckamore. We have sapel wood, and this is a maple burl inlay. Very beautiful. And then we have black spacers, black liners. That's micarta. Brass hardware. Look at those huge 1/4-inch brass pins. The tube, of course, forge finish. What do you think of that? Very cool. I like the angled look. Very cool. What are you guys saying here? What are you getting on with? Avoidance. Yeah, sometimes you just gotta avoid. Oh, Brad, now's your chance, buddy. Shoot the email. I don't think so, Ariel. Maybe for your eyes. I don't think so. This works for me. This works for me. Forward sweep, forward sweep, forward sweep of the blade, up sweep of the handle. That's my thoughts. But if we're doing a custom build for someone, we can do whatever your heart desires. Gerald is in it with the matching earrings. He's got the right idea. He's got it all figured out. And then this is a brand new material. First time I've worked with it. You can't hardly tell the color. It's a very light, like army green. Almost looks gray, looks like on the screen there. It's a very light army green. Got a black micarta, like a salt and pepper micarta, brass hardware. But this is a textured finish micarta. I don't know if you can hear that, but it's warm and gritty, and it's just so textured. Just a finish with a matte finish here, and it's lovely. And it's hard to work with because what happens with a micarta like this, a fabric micarta, is that it burns. Once you start getting, that is a yellow fox. Yes, Michael? An ideal hunting piece. This would be an ideal hunting piece. Of course, the yellow fox is designed for that, but then when you have this full matte, grippy textured handle, just feels incredible in the hand. Just has a huge bite to it. Well, Michael, this is your lucky night. You shoot me a message. I think I have another one. Yeah, I have two here ready to go. If they don't go this weekend, they'll make it to the site probably next week. That's the plan, to get some new product up on the site. But no, they're two the same, Michael. They're two the same. Ariel, not exactly the finish. The texture that you're kind of talking about in the pictures that you showed on, was it some Benchmades or something, is the abrasive blasted micarta. And so that is a lot more pitty and rough. This is not that pitty and rough, not as porous as the stuff you're talking about. Although this might be an interesting option because it is quite textured. So for this texture, it's just left at a lower grit. Normally, I take my knives up to 400 grit or higher, and then buff on the buffer, and that takes them, depending on the material, that takes them to this finish. If you finish just right on the belt grinder belt and you use the right compounds on the buffer, you get this finish. But with a real heavy fabric micarta like this, it does not do well with that type of finishing. It really loads up with dirt, with compound, and it burns if you run fine grits. Like I can't run a 400 grit belt on this because it'll generate heat and it'll burn. You'll see color differences. But it's very, very scratchy, warm, dry, chalky in the hand. So it's just finished to a lower grit and not polished. John Conklin, how you doing, buddy? Is date night done for the night? And Michael, I do still have the reddish colored one. I never did get those up on the site. They're still sitting in the dark. Okay, you like that? Yeah, it's the first time I've worked with this specific stuff. But it's really nice. I don't know, the color might even work for you. You let me grab that for you. I think I got it right here in the shelf, Skipper. You give me 1 second. So here it is in that polished red. And here it is in that chalky green, the unpolished, the matte textured green. There's your side by side. Hey, I like that, Chad. A real storyteller, a real wise guy, eh? I like that. I like that. That is exciting, John. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm glad she had a good, safe trip. That's a beautiful thing. But here's your 2 different handles on the Yellow Fox. And I just remembered when I hopped up, my time is pretty much up for the stream here. I'm actually over my hour limit. But I have a custom blade, and it's got an interesting story. So if you guys remember, I showed a knife build. How long was it? Let me pull it up here. It'll only take a sec. Where I built a knife to celebrate or honor the tough hombres. And that was built for Mr. Strapped and Dangerous, actually. An incredible knife build. See if I can show you the thumbnail. It's very small there, but it's right there. Building a knife for a war hero. See that? So that knife was built in honor of Mr. Strapped and Dangerous' father. And I told some story, and he commented beneath that video if you want to read about the story of the tough hombres. But there is a tough hombre, as the name goes. You can do your own research, but there is a tough hombre that is still alive and that is 104 years old right now. And some of his family and close friends saw that piece, and they're actually doing a ceremony or something for him pretty soon. And so there's a request to build a piece. Now, we don't have Mr. Strapped and Dangerous sent in his own pins, his own beautiful pins for inlay. We don't have time to get those in, that type of thing. But here is the knife that's in progress so far. And it's that same warrior pattern, that same polished and filed tang. And we're doing a red, white, and blue inlay. We've got an ancient oak and a natural curly maple. Forge finish flats against the polished blade. And then where the other one got those beautiful inlays, here we're going to do the tough hombres laser engraving. So that's why we have this big portion of natural finish material here. Nice and plain, a big clean slate. We're going to do some laser engraving. That'll turn out black against here, very high detail. And that's what we're going to lay into the knife. Isn't that cool? That's the comment section that I'm seeing here. So that is a build in progress. It's almost done. This will go out with Monday's mail. That's the plan. But I just think that's a cool look. You've got that, all that tang filing, that polished tang, those inlays, brass with the colors. You like it? I think it's a great piece. Very pleased, and it's an honor. It's an honor to have a knife. I was saying to Dad there just before the live stream. Just before the live stream, I said, you know, it's incredible to think that there's a knife being built here in this little rural shop in this little tiny town in backwoods Newfoundland, and it's going to be at an event in the U.S. with Americans and presented to an American war veteran, with people around honoring this man, and with one of my knives there in the midst as a presentation. I just think that's it's an incredible thing. What an honor. I take that as such an honor that someone would choose me, and that Mr. Stropton Dangerous would choose my knife shop, my work, to honor someone special, to honor a war veteran like that and his dad. It's just, I just appreciate it so much that you guys would choose KN Knives and myself to do work like this. I'm really proud of that. Really proud. I'm glad you guys like it. Glad you guys like it. So I've got to head out here, guys. It is 9:05. I'm 9 minutes past my time. Yeah, I just got a text from Mama just now. That's what I was just checking out, Chad. Gonna head home. Still got to get in a little workout down at the gym tonight. I'm dropping some weight, guys, getting back in shape, feeling good. I'm hitting the heavy bag. I've got a real nice heavy bag set up, probably 3 or 4 times a week, walking every morning, in the gym every single day, and feeling good, feeling healthy, feeling strong, the best in a long time. I appreciate your support so much. Appreciate you here hanging out. Appreciate you shopping on the site. Pretty much all of these knives here shown tonight are available. Shoot me an email if you have an inquiry on about a new project, an inquiry about your build, about an order you placed on the site. Go ahead and email me. I'd love to give you an update. Shop at knknives.ca and have a fantastic weekend. A couple new videos teed up, ready to go. Good night, my friends. Good night. Thanks so much. Thank you all for being here this evening. A lot of the young kids call the OGs here tonight. A lot of big icons here.